Well, we're talking about freedom from performance. And, when the word performance comes to mind, a lot of things come to mind for me because I am a performer. I'm a rapper. I've been rapping since I was very young and far before I was very good. But one of the things that happens when you are a performer, you get on stage and you do things, is it's one thing to just be on stage in front of lots of people, but something interesting happens when friends and family come to a concert. If you look into the crowd and you see someone that you recognize or your peers who you want to impress, or even when my mom comes to a concert, and it's oh, here's the person who gave their whole life to raise me. I hope you're proud. Hope it's going well. It means something. And then after the show, people will come up and, it's in your mind. You're I can remember all the things that went wrong. I hope it went well. And then just to be oh, it went well, it's you can finally relax. Is that how did I do question that's in your mind? I saw an interview with Oprah. And, Oprah has interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. And she's interviewed athletes and entertainers and presidents. And she said, no matter who it is, how important they are, how skilled they are, how gifted they are, at the end of the interview, they will look at her and say, how did I do? And this is one of the interesting things about performance is there's always that question in the back of our head, how did I do? It means something to us to know that we performed well. We live in a world that is dominated by performance. We live our whole life as it's a performance. If you don't believe me, you can just open TikTok and see people just scrambling eggs today. Why are you live streaming your breakfast, bro? Just eat your eggs. We love to do things for an audience. But what happens is when we're always in performance mode, that can be very exhausting. Because we are constantly in a mode where we're aware of the eyes that are on us and we're wanting to make sure that we do a good job and our value or worth feels tied to that. It's very exhausting. And one of the problems that happens is then when we begin to think about our relationship with God, our walk with Jesus, we bring that same performance mindset into it, assuming that our relationship with God is only as good as our last performance was. But the way for us to avoid bringing that into our spiritual life is to understand what our relationship is to our works, to the things that we do. As an example, when I was a really, really young Christian, I was clueless about many things. One of them was my relationships with girls specifically. And I had a mentor, and he said, bro, you're not being smart. He said, if you're gonna have these relationships, you gotta remember these 3 letters, DTR. And I was like, why do Christians love acronyms so much? Just tell me what it is. He said, it's define the relationship. He said, when the relationship isn't defined, y'all may have different expectations. You don't really know what you're doing. And then you can end up hurting yourself or her. And then if the relationship changes, then those expectations change. Well, it's the exact same thing when we begin to think about our relationship with God, because if we do not define our relationship with our works, with the good things that we do, then we will be confused and hurt. If Jesus has said, I have saved you by grace through faith, we have to then think about, okay, so how do I now interact with the good things I do, with God's commands? That's what Paul is going to help us try to figure out in Romans chapter 7.